Outer Banks is officially over, but it's always P4L. So let's rank all the characters from the show. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I've got a big old tier list ranking for all the characters from all 5 seasons of Outer Banks. But I've got about 30 of the characters from the show. These are characters who have a significant role. I didn't include every minor character. And I've got a classic tier list. I'm going to go through tiers S through F and get down to business. But before I do, hit that like button. Comment down below what tiers you would place these characters in. And if you want to fill out your own tier list, I have it linked in the description. You guys can do that. Without further ado, I say we just get down to business. So the tiers I have are S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and F tier. And again, I've got about 30 of the main characters from Outer Banks in no specific order. Kickstarting this list is going to be JJ Maybank, RIP, the saddest death in the show. He was great comedic relief, had an awesome arc, and Rudy brought it, especially in Season 4. I'm going to say JJ is an S-tier character. He's one of the OGs. It's a shame we didn't get to see him in Season 5, but his legacy lived on and directly impacted all the main characters in their journeys and finding closure with the grieving process. So I would say he's an S-tier character. Then we got Topper. What a tool he can be. Full-on arson in Season 3, mind you. Never been a huge Topper guy. He's a very hit-or-miss character. He's always like opposed to the Pogues and John B, trying to get with Sarah. He frustrated the hell out of me, but I think a show like this needs that character who you can root against. He doesn't really have redemption in the end. He's kind of just cool with everyone. I don't know. I'd go B tier with Topper just because, yeah, when he's in a scene, it's probably going to be pretty interesting. But in terms of characters, he's a straight up kook, and there's not a lot of redeeming qualities with him. Then we got Carlos Singh. This is the villain from Season 3. One of the worst characters in the show. Very one-note, extremely generic villain. F tier for Carlos. I didn't want to waste my time talking about him, really. Then we have Pope's dad. I really end up admiring this character's journey. I thought they were going to kill him in Season 5 when him and Pope are out, you know, on the water and they're sharing like this piece of wood or a sign that's floating. I thought they were going to go full Titanic and he was going to sacrifice himself to save Pope. Very glad they didn't do that. He has a happy ending. They rebuild the restaurant. I would say Pope's dad's like a B tier character. Sometimes I'm frustrated with him. Sometimes he really is just trying to look out for his son and knock some sense into him. I'm going to go B tier even over Topper for Pope's dad. Then we got Luke, who is believed to be JJ's dad for multiple seasons of the show until we find out he just took him in. He's not actually his birth father. I would say his behavior is unforgivable often. He does have some interesting scenes. I think, you know, he adds to the tension with JJ and kind of explains why JJ is the way he is with his rebelliousness, especially in the earlier seasons. I'm still going to put him probably in C tier. There's not a lot of him in the later seasons. He eventually dips out. He was an interesting enough character. I'd say he's like C tier, kind of a middle of the road type character. Then we have Ruthie, one of the most unlikable, despicable characters in this show. I kind of equate her to Angela from Stranger Things. If you know, you know. Because of that, F tier, comfortably. I hate her. You're supposed to hate her. Nothing nice to say about her, so I'm going to move on. Then we have Sarah Cameron, played by Madelyn Cline, one of the best characters in the show. She has one of my favorite line deliveries. It's in Season 1. I'll insert it right here.
That you're a liar. No, that you're a shit-talking bitch.
I think about that line delivery often. But her and John B are the it couple, you could argue, of this show. Of course, in Season 5, she's with child, and her and John B end up having that happy ending. They get to have a wedding in front of those they love most. I really appreciate how she ends up having a mom in the end, too, like a non-psycho parent, because Ward did some psychological damage to her. The same can be said for Rafe. But what a journey Sarah Cameron went on, and I really do enjoy the love story between her and John B. I think it's perfect. So I'm going to go S tier. I would probably even say maybe over JJ. I think that might be a hot take. I don't know. They're both S tier. In fact, most of the main Pogues will probably end up there, and so their placement is kind of irrelevant. They're all S tier to me. Then we have Dahlia. This is like one of the heads of the mercenaries. I believe they're called the Corsairs in Season 4 and 5. Just vanilla characters. I would say there's a little more going for her than the ones in F tier. I'll go D tier, but there's really not much going for her. And the wig they use for her in Season 5 is abysmal as well. I don't know if anyone caught that. Then we have Rafe. Talk about a journey. I mean, Rafe is a full-on lunatic psycho in the early seasons of the show. He's very damaged, but you see that throughout the seasons. Eventually, Sophia comes into his life, sort of warms his heart. And in the end, he's on good terms with all the Pogues. He even says to Shoop, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. He saves Shoop in the end, and then he sails off, technically into the sunset, riding off into this new life, this new chapter. I wish nothing but the best for him. Drew Starkey, to me, delivers the best performance out of any of the actors on this show. And for that reason, he's S tier. For me, Rafe ended up being just one of those characters who I was glued to the screen anytime he was on. I'd say he's at top of S tier for me right now in terms of just the character development, the performance, all around. I think he is the maybe best character, arguably, from all of Outer Banks. Then we have Shoop, a character who I had a big turnaround on. He's kind of just the small town sheriff for a lot of the show. But in the end, he kind of is like this dad to the Pogues in a way. Like, he wants them to make the right decisions. He doesn't want them to be stupid. He doesn't want to get them in trouble, but he has to time and time again. And I loved seeing him just partying at the big wedding at the end. I would go A tier for Shoop. Ended up being one of those classic Outer Banks characters. Then we have Anton Finch. This is a character who's one of these mercenaries who's hell-bent on finding the Blue Crown because he wants to resurrect his daughter. So he's kind of bought into the delusion of the whole myth as well. Very one-note, kind of a paper-thin character. I would say he's right alongside Dahlia in D tier. Just whenever it would cut to these mercenaries, especially in like the early episodes of season 5, I would check out. I'd be like, oh, what are we doing? This is a waste of time. Then we got Cleo, who was a newer addition to the group. She was not in season 1. I would say Cleo is not elite S tier, but I would go top of A tier with Cleo. In fact, she kicks a lot of ass. I would not want to get in her way. When it comes to season 5, she stands on business, right? She blows up the Twinkie and causes that whole diversion so the Pogues can get away on the plane. In fact, whenever she's got a knife or doing anything, I'm like, yeah, I would not want to mess with her. I think she's the most badass of the main group of Pogues. And if you are getting in a fight, you definitely want her on your side. Then we have Terrence, who's closely associated with Cleo. I would go like C tier for Terrence. R.I.P., honestly. Sad to see him go, but I feel like, you know, some characters in the show had to die, and he was one of them. Then we got Stubbs, another one of those characters who's with Cleo. I would say, similarly to Terrence, I'd put him probably in C tier. Like, has a couple moments to shine. Isn't like a top tier character when it comes to development or memorable moments in the show, but average, middle-of-the-road type character. Big John, or John's dad, honestly one of the most unlikable characters in this show. He's in season 3. I think season 3 is the weakest. A large part of that is because of his presence. Initially, there's this whole reveal at the end of season 2, like, oh my gosh, John B's dad's alive, he's going to be in season 3. But then as you get to know him, you find out he's kind of just a terrible person, very selfish, awful, honestly. I was frustrated with multiple decisions he made, irritated with how him and John B were sort of split off from the other characters for a lot of the season. I would say, honestly, Big John might be a D tier character, and I know that might be a hot take. I don't know how you guys feel. Comment down below, but I've never been a fan of him. I go D tier pretty comfortably. Then we have Carla, who really didn't do much for me either. Like, there's this mystery to her, almost like this supernatural feel whenever she's around. It's very eerie, so I guess I can appreciate that, but I don't know. She, again, didn't do much for me. I would put her probably right here as well. Then we have Leitner, one of the mercenaries. This is actually the one that Pope shoots and kills. That has a psychological effect on him in season 5 as we see him going through basically PTSD. Again, same thing with these other mercenaries, didn't care. I'd say he's probably the most memorable of the 3, so I'd put him over those, but there are a lot of just throwaway side characters on the villain side of things as Outer Banks progresses. Then we got Wheezy. This is the younger sister of Rafe and Sarah, the forgotten sibling, honestly. I would say Wheezy has a couple moments to shine. Her brother and sister are running around doing craziness, and she's kind of just stuck at home with the parents. I would go probably B tier with Wheezy. We'll throw her right there. Then we have Barracuda Mike. What a name. What an Outer Banks name that is. Barracuda Mike, going C tier with him. Probably throwing him like right here. Has a couple moments of tension with him where you're like, what's he doing? He definitely has some shady motives, but one of the like classic Outer Banks names. I feel like he deserves a little bit more respect. Dale has a big role in season 5. He is so unlikable. He gets what's coming to him. I like how he's getting arrested at the end. Just like one of those like upper class rich a-holes who only cares about himself and making money, and that shows. I would say Dale is like D to C tier for me. In terms of screen presence, you're like, oh, I hate this guy. I'd probably go like top of D with him, like right here probably. Then we got Pope, one of the OGs. Pope is S tier. You guys already know him. In fact, I love Pope so much, I'm going to go right here with him. I could go even higher. I'll go right there with Pope. Pope's the man. In season 5, he's really going through it. He's got this arc where he's like a stoner for half the season, just trying to suppress his emotions and feelings, not accept reality. But ultimately, he ends up with Cleo. I hope they have a long, happy life together. They're living in Tanny Hill. Perfect ending for him. And honestly, in the early seasons, Pope is one of my favorite characters, especially like season 1. But season 2 is when it's really all about Pope, and I couldn't get enough of that. Then we got Rose. This is Ward's wife, the stepmom of Rafe and Sarah. And with her, her motives are sort of twisted. She's trying to play the long game, financially speaking. She gets into some trouble in season 5. I do like ultimately how she does help Rafe out. I would say Rose is B tier because she is a quite fascinating character. You always wonder when she's on screen what her real plans are behind the scenes, so I'm going to put her right behind Wheezy. Then we got Sophia, who came in late, ended up being a love interest for Rafe, and they end up together, so I hope they live a long, happy life together. I'm going to say B tier for Sophia. I'm going to put her actually fairly high. I ended up liking her quite a bit. Even though she screwed Rafe over, she felt bad for it. They make amends in the final season, and she's like going to jail for him. She's like, I love this man. I will do whatever. to save him. So I like the route they took with her and Rafe. Then we have Chandler Groff, who ends up becoming like the big bad villain of Outer Banks in season 4, and then especially in season 5. He embraces being like a full cheesy 80s movie villain. I hated him, and you're supposed to. When it comes to villains, like, you just love to root against this guy. I'm gonna say maybe A tier in terms of characters, but A or B. It's tough. I would say Chandler Groff is probably A tier. I'll put him at the back of A tier just because, like, he's such a hateable character. He's a snake. He's slippery. It doesn't even make sense how he's able to make his way around all these different areas the way he does. And a lot of the logic is lost with this character. Like, nothing really makes sense. But something about him, he's so hateable. He kills JJ. Like, you got to have that kind of character in a show. So I'll go A tier with Chandler Groff. Then we have Kelsey. This is one of the kooks that we see throughout the seasons. The spotlight was never really on him. He was kind of always there with Topper. I would say same thing, probably like C tier. We'll go like right here, probably. We'll go back of C tier, actually. Not the most memorable. Then we got the teacher, Mr. Sun, who doesn't have the most screen time, but he always does have some advice, and he's able to give the Pogues some history lessons, especially even in the final season. I like that he showed up. We'll go C tier with him. Like, he doesn't have the most to do, but he always is dropping those knowledge bombs, which I feel are necessary, especially in a show that focuses on treasure hunting and lore. Like, he's the guy. He's basically their Google. I'm going to go... we'll put him like right in the middle of C tier. Then we have John B. John Booker Rutledge, delivers the first and last lines of the show. I would say John B is one of the best characters without a doubt. He's the face of Outer Banks. I would probably go really high with him. In fact, John B is the man. I think he deserves being at the top of S tier. It's basically his show. Him and Sarah, the perfect couple. The development is there. John B is the man. He frustrates me at times. He's an idiot at times. All the Pogues are. They all have their moments of stupidity. But I'd say that's probably a fair ranking. And there's one more Pogue, obviously, I'll put in here as well. But it's tough to rank them all because they're just the best characters. It's like picking your favorite children, you know? Then we have Sheriff Peterkin, R.I.P. She died in season 1, shot by Rafe. But her death lingered throughout all 5 seasons and even came back to be a major plot point in the finale of season 5 when the truth comes out that Rafe killed her and everyone on the island is basically in pursuit of him for the death of Peterkin. Peterkin was a compelling character, so much so with little screen time that I'm going to put her in maybe A tier, maybe B tier, like one of those two for sure. I would say Peterkin, I wish we got more out of her. I'd put her right here. Solid B tier character, teetering on A almost, but we'll go B tier for her. Then we have Ellie. This is Sarah Cameron's mom, who's been in New Orleans all the seasons, and so Sarah Cameron had this, false image of who her mom was. She was like, oh, mom left, but in reality, Ward framed her, made it look like she was incapable as a mother and was on drugs in front of the baby, when in reality, that was not the case. Ward literally set her up. So she had to run away, essentially, and go be on her own, which is a bummer, but I'm glad in the end her and Sarah make up, and Sarah's allowed to have a mother figure in her life, which she so desperately needs. I would say little screen time with her. Wish we got more out of her. I would go C tier with Ellie, probably right here. We'll put her in like middle of C tier. Then we have Kiara, or Key, if you will, one of the main Pogues. Just like all the Pogues, she has her moments where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, infuriatingly stupid decisions are made by her. JJ, Pope, Sarah, John B, all of them have these moments where I'm like, what are you doing? In the early going of season 5, especially, I was like, Key, what's going on? But I do really love the arc for her in season 5. She is heavily dealing with the death of JJ, the love of her life essentially lost, but ultimately she uses the Blue Crown and finds that it shows her basically a flash of all of her moments with JJ. And in that moment, she finds some much needed mental clarity and is at peace with the death of JJ. She no longer dwells on what she lost with JJ, but appreciates what she had and the happy memories. So I thought they beautifully captured what the grieving process looks like through her and JJ. Kiara is S tier. I would put her right, probably alongside JJ. I feel like that's a fair ranking. In fact, again, the order of S tier doesn't matter. It's just who's in S tier, and those are your S tier characters in my book. Then we got Kiara's parents, who really got under my skin a lot of times. In the end, they're cool with Key, but I would say all in all, they might be D tier, kind of like Big John, just irritating characters. They got on my nerves, especially in season 3 and 4. Then we got Barry. I'm here for a Barry spinoff. I know there's been some chatter online. Let's have a Barry spinoff. We're long overdue for that. I would say Barry's an A tier character. Like, kind of became a guy who, whenever he showed up, you're going to have the energy in that scene. It's going to be either funny or just electric or batshit crazy. I'm going A tier with Barry. I ended up really digging him anytime he was on screen, especially in season 5. And finally, we got Ward, who's like the main villain of some of these earlier seasons. He's always plotting behind the scenes. I feel like getting the reveal in season 5 that he set up Sarah Cameron's mom makes him even more despicable. Yeah, he makes a sacrifice in season 3 to save the Pogues, but to me, I still think of him being in season 1, season 2, his plotting, his scheming. I would say Ward is damn near an S tier character in this show. I am going to say probably top of A, but man, is he close to being S tier. When he left, the show's quality didn't necessarily drop, but there was a notable absence. He's so close to being S tier, I am going top of A for now. But Ward Cameron, you will always be famous. He is like one of the best performances in the show. One of the characters who just captures your attention every single time he speaks a line. You want to know what craziness he's going to get into. But that's my tier list ranking of all the characters from Outer Banks. I enjoyed doing that, and it's sad to say goodbye to the show. But let me know your ranking down below. What tiers are you putting these characters in? Of course, hit that like button, subscribe to that notification bell, and be on the lookout for more videos coming very soon. But thank you guys, as always, for watching, and until next time, P4L.